It happened in less than a minute, yet it was enough to shatter nearly 3 decades of what seemed like a perfect family life. No one expected a graduation party to become the stage for a betrayal, so carefully planned. And even fewer expected the one to ignite it all would be the person I trusted most, my husband. And when he spoke, with a half-finished glass of wine in his hand, every eye in the room turned toward him. Not because of the toast people were expecting, but because of the brutal truth he threw out, without warning, without apology. I'm Sophia Harris, 53 years old, and this is how my life took a completely different turn. We hosted our daughter Lily's graduation party at an upscale Italian restaurant along the San Francisco Bay. I had booked the table 3 weeks in advance, carefully chosen the menu, and prepared an emotional speech to honor her. Lily was my greatest pride. After years of hard work, she had finally graduated from Stanford University with a degree in psychology at the age of 22. Family, friends, and even Lily's professors were there. I remember turning to my husband, Nathan, just as the server poured wine into his glass. I thought he would raise it and say a few proud words about our daughter like any father would. But instead, he stood up, tapped his spoon against the glass, and began. There's something I'd like to share with everyone today, on this special occasion. I smiled, waiting. The room fell silent. I've decided to start a new life. Without Sophia. His words rang out, clear, steady, without a single stumble, as if he had rehearsed them 1,000 times. Silverware froze mid-air, scattered laughter evaporated into stunned silence. The room turned to stone. I was still sitting there, gripping the napkin in my lap without realizing it. Lily turned to me, her face pale, eyes wide with disbelief. I heard the clang of someone dropping a fork to the tiled floor. A guest exhaled sharply. Then silence. Everyone looked at me, waiting for a reaction. A slap, a shattered glass, a dramatic cry. But I did none of that. I simply smiled, a smile without a single tremble. Congratulations on your honesty, I said, my voice light, as if commenting on the weather. I stood, pushed my chair back gently, and placed a cream-colored envelope beside Nathan's plate. "What's this?" he asked, eyebrows furrowed, the smug smile fading. "Something for you to read later," I replied, keeping my eyes on Lily's confused face. I kissed her forehead. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. This is still your day." Then I turned to the others, those who had once been friends, colleagues, confidants, many of whom clearly knew long before I did. "I hope you all enjoy the meal. Have a lovely afternoon." And I walked out of the restaurant. No tears. No looking back. The heavy wooden door swung shut behind me. A chapter of my life had just closed. I walked out of the restaurant, leaving behind 50 stunned faces and a man who had just confidently declared his freedom, completely unaware that he had just destroyed his own life. San Francisco greeted me with a chill breeze brushing against my collar. I adjusted my silk scarf, took a deep breath, and slowly made my way toward the parking lot. My phone buzzed non-stop inside my purse, messages, calls. I didn't even have to look to know who was trying to reach me. Nathan, Lily, friends, relatives, those who had just witnessed the most bizarre graduation ceremony I had ever experienced. I didn't pick up, not out of anger, but because I had heard enough. The envelope I had left on the table was the one thing Nathan hadn't seen coming. Inside wasn't a letter of blame. It was a copy of the divorce papers, along with an appointment confirmation to officially file them the next morning. Also included was a detailed list of all the suspicious financial transactions I had uncovered over the past 3 months. Small, regular transfers, quietly flowing into an account that didn't have my name on it. I first noticed it back in January, while reviewing our tax documents. Something didn't add up. And with over 20 years of experience as a senior accountant at an import-comport corporation, I knew the difference between unexpected expenses and intentional fraud. I said nothing. No tears, no shouting, no confrontation. Quietly, I opened a secondary bank account and began transferring savings into it. I pulled money from personal investments. I removed the Santa Rosa property, bought with inheritance from my mother, from our joint ownership. I asked a trusted attorney to start preparing the divorce paperwork. No one knew, no one suspected. I once thought I wouldn't be strong enough to do it, but Nathan's coldness and silence over the past year had taught me this. Two people can live side by side and still be invisible to each other. I used to fear loneliness so deeply it paralyzed me. Now, I realized loneliness was what had set me free. I had parked my car beneath a eucalyptus tree at the far end of the lot. I sat in the driver's seat, shut the door, and let the silence settle. My heartbeat, once frantic at the dinner table, had slowed. I leaned forward, resting my head on the steering wheel for a few seconds, closing my eyes. In that darkness behind my lids, I saw Lily's face again, confused, hurt, trying to make sense of it all. She had been the only reason I stayed all these years, the reason I remained in a marriage that had long since gone hollow. I didn't want to be the one to break it. But now, it was Nathan who shattered it. Publicly, cruelly, and selfishly. I opened my phone. 12 missed calls from Nathan, 3 from Lily, 1 from Jess, my closest friend, seated at one of the back tables. I replied only to Lily. "I'm okay. Don't worry. We'll talk tonight. This isn't your fault. I love you." I hit send. My chest felt a little lighter. Then, I turned on the A/C, backed out of the lot, and turned left toward the Golden Gate Bridge. I wasn't going home. I had packed a small suitcase the day before, with a few outfits, documents, my laptop, bank books, and passport. I didn't know if Nathan had noticed. It didn't matter anymore. Tonight, I would sleep at the small apartment I had rented temporarily near Marina District, a place Nathan didn't know about, a space just for me. No familiar footsteps, no man complaining about work, politics, or his never-ending back pain that he refused to treat. Tonight, I would open a bottle of red wine, sink into the sofa I had chosen myself, and reread the journal entries I'd been writing over the last 3 months. Not to mourn, but to remind myself. I was never weak. I had just been too patient. And now, I wasn't waiting anymore. I'm not the kind of woman who enjoys confrontation, but I've never been someone easy to fool. It all started on a Friday night, 3 months ago, while I was reviewing our bank statements to prepare for the upcoming tax season. A strange transaction popped up on the screen. $1,250.00, transferred from our joint account to a secondary account that didn't have my name on it. As I looked deeper, I realized it wasn't the first. Over the course of 6 months, there had been more than 10 such transactions. None large enough to raise alarms individually, but significant when added together. I sat still, staring at the screen. Nathan had never mentioned any new investments to me, nor had he brought up opening a separate account. What made it worse was that during this time, he constantly told me we needed to cut back, save for our early retirement plan. Fewer dinners out. Postpone our 28th anniversary trip. I could have gotten angry, could have confronted him that very night, but instead, I opened a new document on my laptop and titled it, Contingency Plan. I began taking notes. I opened a private bank account at a different bank, one Nathan had no connection to. I started transferring small amounts from my personal income that he didn't monitor. I also diverted part of the dividends from investments I had quietly maintained since before we got married. Funds I had kept aside, guided by a gut feeling that one day, I might need them. Then I hired an attorney. Not from downtown, too conspicuous. I chose a small law office in Oakland, led by a woman in her 40s who had once been my financial consulting client. I trusted her, and more importantly, she trusted me. Together we drafted the divorce papers, prepared the asset division documents, reviewed the prenuptial agreement Nathan and I had signed in our first year of marriage, back when I still held title to a Los Angeles apartment inherited from my parents, and he was still struggling to launch his business. I never imagined that agreement would become my shield today. It included a clear clause on financial and emotional fidelity, one that, if violated, allowed the other party to retain the majority of marital assets. Nathan had forgotten that clause. But I never did. I also began gathering evidence, screenshots of bank transfers, odd messages from unnamed contacts on his phone, a hotel receipt from Carmel I found in the pocket of his coat, and most importantly, a recording of a phone conversation Nathan had with someone. I didn't know who, but the tone said enough. After Lily's graduation, I'll come clean. She won't make a scene in public, trust me. I saved everything, carefully, quietly, no one knew. I kept cooking dinner every night, watching movies with Nathan, pretending to laugh. I still organized Lily's graduation party with care, because she deserved a beautiful memory, before the truth came out. I didn't know Nathan would choose to go public today, but I had been ready for a very long time. I got back to the house on Chestnut Street around 4 p.m. The San Francisco sunlight still streamed through the glass windows like any other day, but everything inside me had changed. This used to be my home, where Nathan and I raised Lily, where I hung family photos along the wooden staircase, where I decorated every corner with my own hands each holiday season. But today, as I stepped inside, it no longer felt familiar. Only emptiness, betrayal, and a bitter irony remained. I went straight upstairs to the master bedroom. Nathan's side of the closet had been unusually tidy. The large gray suitcase he always used for business trips was already pulled out. His shirts were folded neatly, his ties rolled up. I opened the bottom drawer and saw a cardboard box containing his laptop and some documents. Turns out, he had planned to leave tomorrow, just as the messages I read had said. I sat on the edge of the bed, my hand resting on the sheets. Once the place where we lay beside each other every night. Now, there was nothing left. No trust, no love, not even the minimum of respect. The doorbell rang sharply. I stood up, fixed my hair in the mirror, and calmly walked downstairs. Nathan stood at the door, face flushed, the lapels of his wrinkled suit jacket bunched like he had pulled it on in a hurry. He was gripping the envelope I had left on the dinner table. His expression, no longer triumphant as it was earlier that afternoon, was now angry, defeated, panicked. "I can explain," he began, voice hoarse. "But first, you have to drop this." I tilted my head. "Drop what?" He held up the envelope. "The divorce? Sophia, are you really going to blow this up over a misunderstanding?" I laughed. "A misunderstanding? You told a room of 50 people you wanted a life without me, and now you call that a misunderstanding?" "You're blowing this out of proportion," Nathan snapped. "I never meant to hurt you. I just didn't want to keep pretending. You don't love me anymore either." "Maybe not, but at least I wasn't secretly draining our joint account. I wasn't taking another woman to the same restaurants I once picked for our anniversaries. I didn't plan to walk out on my wife on our daughter's graduation day." Nathan went pale. I could see his defenses cracking piece by piece. "You have the right to chase your happiness," he tried again. "And so do I. But what you did today, this is revenge." I stepped back slightly, arms crossed. "No, Nathan, this isn't revenge. This is justice. This is the line you crossed. And I, the woman you thought would always stay silent, am silent no longer." He lowered his hand, lips pressed tight. He looked around, finally taking in the home he once called his own. "You can't keep everything." I shrugged. "The prenuptial agreement. You insisted on it, remember? It clearly states the fidelity clause. I consulted a lawyer. The filing is valid, and you know that." Nathan said nothing. He slumped onto the sofa, rubbing his head. I stood still. I didn't turn away, didn't soften. After nearly 30 years of marriage, I once knew every look on his face, and I had been fooled by them before. Not this time. "Does she know?" I asked quietly. He looked up. "Who?" "Your little girlfriend. Does she know your accounts are frozen, that the apartment you two planned to rent in Mission Bay got canceled because your credit didn't check out?" Nathan stared at me. "How do you know that?" "I got the verification call from the leasing office. You used our home number. I smiled. I took care of it. He went silent. A moment later, he muttered, I never thought you were capable of this. I leaned toward the door, my hand brushing the doorknob. No one did, but I was the only one in this marriage still thinking clearly. And with that, I stepped out of the living room, leaving Nathan to face the consequences he had created, all on his own. That evening, I left the house on Chestnut Street without looking back once. Nathan was still sitting there, in the middle of the living room, next to the envelope he never imagined he would receive. The San Francisco sky was covered in a light mist, and I felt myself grow lighter with each step away from the man who once meant the world to me, now a complete stranger. The small apartment I rented was on the third floor of an old building near the Marina District, with a balcony overlooking the bay. Just a few simple pieces of furniture, a gray new armchair, a small bookshelf, and a dining table for two. I didn't need much, just a space free of lies. When I turned my phone back on, there were over 30 missed calls. Nathan, Lily, friends, unknown numbers, dozens of messages. I read only one. From Lily. Mom, I'm home. Dad didn't say anything. Where are you? I'm really worried. I replied, I'm okay, sweetheart. Everything will be fine. I'll call you in the morning. Get some rest. I knew she needed time to understand. So did I. The next morning, Nathan started calling repeatedly at 6 a.m. When I didn't pick up, he texted, Sophia, we need to talk. Don't make this worse. I haven't told Lily anything yet, but if you keep going, you'll destroy this family. The account's frozen, isn't it? You have no right. I didn't respond. By noon, my lawyer, Madison, called to inform me that the judge had signed a temporary order freezing the joint accounts and granting me the right to remain in the primary residence while the divorce was processed. Nathan still had access to his personal account, the one he had used for over a year to hide money and make reckless investments. But now, it was under close watch. I knew this was the first blow that truly stunned him. Nathan always believed he was in control. He was the type who thought if he spoke well enough, acted decent enough in public, no one would ever suspect anything. He never imagined I'd flip the script so fast. That night, I got a call from an old acquaintance, an old classmate of Lily's, and also a legal assistant at the firm where I filed for divorce. She lowered her voice. Sophia, I don't know if you've heard, but Cassandra, that woman, showed up at the office to find Nathan. They had a huge fight. She left in less than 10 minutes. I replied with a simple, yeah. I wasn't surprised. 3 days later, I received an email from Nathan's former company, the one he had proudly told me was entering a major partnership deal. The financial rep informed me that they were suspending the contract due to the partner's insufficient financial documentation. I guessed Nathan had tried to leverage our joint assets and now had nothing left to show. One afternoon, I met Madison at a cafe near the courthouse. She brought printed financial tracking records for the past 12 months. A chart showing Nathan's unusual spending, luxury restaurants, expensive gifts, even a deposit on a vacation villa in Carmel I had never heard of. He didn't just betray you emotionally, Madison said. He deliberately deceived you financially during the marriage. The court will take this very seriously. I nodded. I didn't feel satisfied, nor heartbroken. I just felt tired. But the kind of tired you feel after pushing open a heavy door and finally breathing new air. That night, Nathan called again. This time I picked up. I can't believe you did this to me, his voice cracked. I've lost everything, Sophia. Cassandra left me. The deal fell through, the bank denied the loan. So the new life without me didn't go as planned? I asked. You don't understand. I just wanted to be free. I didn't think everything would fall apart like this. I sighed. You're wrong. I understand completely. You just never thought I'd want freedom too. I hung up. And I never answered another call from him again. I saw Lily again 2 days after I left the house. She came to the apartment I was renting without notice, still wearing her old school hoodie and faded jeans, dark circles under her eyes from lack of sleep. Mom, she said, her voice softer than usual. "Can we talk?" I nodded and stepped aside to let her in. Lily walked in, glancing around the apartment. A look that was both unfamiliar and full of sorrow. "I'm sorry you had to go through that in front of everyone," she began. I gently squeezed her hand. "It wasn't your fault, Lily." "I know, but I still feel caught in the middle." I didn't blame her. Nathan was her father. They had once been very close. He always knew how to make her laugh, always played the role of the perfect dad. But she wasn't a child anymore, and her growing maturity was quietly guiding her toward the truth. "Dad says you're tearing the family apart, that you're cold, vindictive." I sighed. "Your father is panicking." Lily looked up, her eyes resolute for the first time. "I know he's lying. I overheard part of a phone call the other day. He thought I had gone out. I know this wasn't accidental. It was all planned." Silence settled between us. I said nothing, just looked at her. The child I raised with all my love and sacrifice. Finally, Lily placed her hand on mine. "I choose you," she whispered. "Not because you're perfectly right, but because you're the most honest." News of the divorce between Nathan and me spread faster than I expected. Within a week, old friends started reaching out, some out of genuine concern, others fishing for gossip. I didn't say much, only replied politely, "We're currently handling things legally." Nathan, on the other hand, began losing connections one by one. Cassandra, the woman he had pinned his hopes on, moved out of their temporary apartment after learning he had no money, his investment deal had fallen through, and every valuable asset was under court supervision. The promises he made to her, beachfront homes, luxury cars, financial freedom, all collapsed. I heard from an old friend that Nathan had started calling people, trying to spin his version of events, that I was cold, that I tricked him into signing unfair terms. But those who knew me well understood. I didn't need to fabricate anything to defend myself. I simply stated the truth. One day, Ellen, my former assistant, texted me, "Did you know? Some of Nathan's old friends just canceled his invitation to the annual seminar. They don't want his name to tarnish the event." I wasn't happy, nor relieved. I just saw more clearly than ever. Nathan was facing the consequences of the choices he had made. He had no one left on his side. And for the first time in nearly 30 years, I was no longer the one trying to salvage his reputation. I started over with an old desk and a nearly 4-year-old laptop. I didn't need much, just enough peace and quiet to finally hear myself again, something I had neglected for years. I rented a small room in an office complex near Dogpatch, a former industrial district now slowly becoming a place where dreams begin anew. I named my office Horizon Advisory, a personal financial consulting service, especially for women going through divorce, grief, or major life transition. My first client was a woman named Carla, recently separated after 22 years of marriage. Her story wasn't much different from mine a year ago, and when I handed her the first financial plan, speaking with gentle but firm confidence, I saw in her eyes something I had once lost: hope. From there they came one by one. Through referrals, social media, whispers, and support groups I once joined as a quiet member. I didn't just help them manage budgets or build savings plans. I helped them reclaim voices long drowned in sacrifice. And in each session, I was healing myself too. Lily visited me every week. She still hadn't fully forgiven her father, and maybe wouldn't for a long time. But she was steady again, slowly rebuilding a new rhythm with me. One evening, as we ate dinner together in the small apartment, Lily said, "You're different now, Mom. Lighter, like you can finally breathe." I smiled. I feel it too. That weekend I sorted through old boxes, tossing out birthday cards from Nathan, gifts that once meant something but now felt hollow. I hung up a new painting, a photo of the San Francisco skyline at sunset, golden light filtering between the buildings. A symbol of the future I was heading toward. It didn't matter that I had no one beside me. I had learned how to befriend myself. And for the first time in a very long while, I didn't feel left behind. I was moving forward, steadily, and with every full breath. The final divorce hearing took place on a light, rainy day. I arrived early, wearing a simple beige coat and carrying neatly arranged documents. No earrings, no perfume. I wasn't there to impress. I was there to close a chapter. Nathan sat across from me in the courtroom, looking far more worn than when I last saw him. The arrogance in his eyes was gone, only fatigue remained. His lawyer flipped through paperwork, while I sat silently, eyes fixed on the judge. After over 2 hours of proceedings, the court officially ruled. The house on Chestnut Street, the retirement account, and 65% of the joint assets would go to me, exactly as outlined in the fidelity clause of our prenuptial agreement. Nathan kept his personal savings and a portion of liquid assets, just enough to start over, if he truly wanted to. I didn't feel happy, nor regretful. I just felt right. When the hearing ended, Nathan slowly approached me. For a moment, we stood less than a meter apart, two people who had once slept side by side for over 25 years, now strangers. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice hoarse. "I wish I had realized sooner." I nodded gently. "I wish you had too, but now it's too late." I left the courthouse as the rain stopped. Thin midday sunlight broke through gray clouds, shining across the damp stone steps. I inhaled deeply. My whole body felt lighter, not from winning, but from having reached the end of a long road with nothing left binding me. I didn't win, I simply came back to life. And this time, I was whole. Sophia's story is a powerful reminder that what feels like a painful ending may be the beginning of freedom and rebirth. In real life, anyone can face betrayal, loss, or heartbreak, but with clarity, patience, and the right moment, we can reclaim not only assets, but our voice, our worth, and our strength. Justice isn't about revenge, it's about protecting yourself and moving forward. What do you think of Sophia's journey? What would you do if you were in her shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful stories about family and life.